Salve te Discipuli, and welcome to the Stage 31 Grammar Notes. So I would say this is probably one of the most important grammar notes of the whole year, but that's okay. We can always come back to it and relearn it if you need more help later when we get back together in actual class. It's just something that's very Latin-y, and the Romans really like to use this type of thing. And in fact, if I were a Roman, I would use this all the time. It's like extremely fast and extremely cool way of getting information across with as few words as possible, which you all would do it. You definitely would. It's pretty good. The other nice thing about this grammar is that it uses two old things that we learned. One is participles from the beginning of the year, and the other is the ablative case that we talked about a lot in stage 28. The ablative absolute is one of the case uses of the ablative, but it's so important that it gets its own whole chapter from Cambridge. But it's kind of cool because it just upcycles two old things and puts them together in a new thing. So I'm going to give you these grammar notes and tell you what you should write down on your grammar notes in your spiral. And then I will go through some of the stage pictures so that you can get good grammar notes to do your grammar practice. So write down the title, ablative absolute. And if at any point I'm going too fast, you can always pause the video and go back and write something down if you need to. Okay, so an ablative absolute, it's a pair of words. It's got a minimum of 2 words. It can have more words, but most often the 2 most important words are going to be a noun and a participle. They are both in the ablative case, which I'll review in a second, and they give extra information about a sentence. It's kind of similar to the cum clause that we learned in stage 24, but this is a lot faster and uses much fewer words. You know, obviously you can use only 2. You can add extra information to an ablative absolute if you'd like to, but you have to have a minimum of 2 words, a noun and a participle. There's ablative endings, ais, ois, and ibus, in case you've forgotten, for first, second, and third declension. So write those down as well if you've forgotten. If you've totally got those down, then don't worry about it. And the absolute part of the title, ablative absolute, means that it is sectioned off from the rest of the sentence. It's its own little kind of piece of introductory information that's given, both words in the ablative case, just to set out some information that kind of isn't touched by anything else in the sentence. Okay, so ablative absolutes, as I said, have a noun and a participle. So we learned in the beginning of the year 4 different participles in Latin. We learned the present active. There's some present actives right there. We learned perfect passive, perfect deponent, and future active. You really almost never see these with future active. Mostly it's present active, perfect passive, or perfect deponent. Remember, those deponent verbs were the ones, the participles from that checklist in stage 34. So there's perfect passive examples. And then there's some deponents as well. I would write down those 2 sample sentences there. Caecilio interfecto quintus ex Italia discessit, with Caecilius having been killed. So the best translation of this is with the blank blanking, or with the blank having been blanked. The first blank is the noun, the second is the participle. The second ablative absolute, so the first one used a perfect passive participle. They're both ablative singular, they go together. The second one is plural. Notice like ibus and ibus, right? Militibus clamantibus, with the soldiers shouting, the women began to cry. I always do the with the blank blanking or with the blank having been blank, because it's just like a typical sign that I can give you guys, like, oh yeah, ablative absolute, and you know that it is that. Okay, so now that we finished that, let's go ahead and get a new thing going here. There we go. Now we've got the stage pictures for stage 31. They're really well drawn. They're kind of pretty, I think, honestly. And they have a nice message, so we'll go through these. Dies illucascebat, the day was growing bright. Number 2, Die illucascente, multi saccarii in ripa fluminis laboravant. Those guys up there are the saccarii. They're dock workers. So many dock workers were working on the bank of the river in ripa fluminis. So the only 2 words I didn't talk about, Die illucascente, that is my ablative absolute. You see, it's 2-word minimum. There it is, a nice 2-word one. Die, the first word, is my noun. Illucascente is my participle. It's a present active because of the NTE. So with the day growing bright, as the day was growing bright, many dock workers were working on the bank of the river. Not too bad. So there was my first ablative absolute. Okay, number 3, Sacariis laborantibus advened naves. With the dock workers working, a ship arrived. Nautai navem deligaverunt, and the sailors tied up the boat. And there you see them tying up the boat. Okay, so my ablative absolute on number 3, Sacariis laborantibus. You'll notice that's ablative plural. Dock workers my noun. Laborantibus is my participle. And again, laborantibus is a present active participle. Number 4, nave delegata, Sacarii frumentum exponere quae perunt. With the ship having been tied up, the dock workers began to take off the grain. And there they are unloading the grain exponere. You'll see, nave delegata, there's my ablative absolute, ablative singular. Nave is the noun, delegata is the participle. This one is a perfect passive. How did I know it was perfect passive and not deponent? It's not on the list. And moving on to number 5, frumento exposito, magister navis pecuniam sacariis distributed. With the grain unloaded, the master of the ship distributed money to the dock workers. So there's my ablative absolute. Frumento, grain is my noun. Exposito is my participle. They're both ablative singular. This one's a perfect passive. Number 6, pecunia distributa, Sacarii ad tabernam proximam festina verunt. Now, when they got paid, where's the first place those dock workers went? To the bar next door. That bar owner was very smart to build his bar right next to where the dock workers get paid. Okay, so here is my ablative absolute, pecunia distributa. There's the noun money, singular, distributa as a participle. This one's perfect passive. It's not on the list, and there's no NT, so we know it's perfect passive. Number 7, tandem solo quitere quiepit. Finally, the sun begins to set, and here is the message, guys. Don't spend your whole day laboring salary at the bar. Sole occidente sacarii a taberna ebrii discaserunt omni pecunia consumta. Ooh, this one is a double. It has 2. There's 2 ablative absolutes here. Sole occidente is my first one. Sol, the sun, is my noun. Occidente, set, is my participle. That's present active. With the sun setting, the dock workers departed from the bar drunk. Omni pecunia consumta. Pecunia is my noun, but you see I have an extra word in here, all, but it just is an adjective going with pecunia. So pecunia is my noun, it's ablative singular. Consumta is my participle, the perfect passive, that's also singular, with all their money eaten up. Ehu. So I hope this was helpful. You have several options on your choice board, and this week, you just need to choose one of those options and turn it in by the end of the week. I'll be available Tuesday on the Zoom meeting that I sent out. If you guys want to hop on and ask any questions, or maybe have me look over what you've done or talk about what you've done. I don't know if we can look over, who knows. Talk about what you've done on your grammar practice. So just hop on in Tuesday or Thursday, either one, and we can chat about it a little more. Good luck. Have fun, guys.